Hi, ladies. It looks like we've got a couple in so far. I'm going to give it a few minutes since I had up to 5 people who were who had posted that they were joining. Hi, Lynn. I saw you bump in there. We're just giving it a few minutes before I get started in case anyone else joins. Okay, I'm going to start off with asking you guys what it is you'd like me to cover today. I was thinking I would cover the pen tool, but if there's something else that you'd prefer, go ahead and let me know. I'm not hearing anything from you, Lynn, although it looks like you're trying to talk.
Pen tool works for me.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen then. Excuse me, and we'll get into it. The pen tool is something I love to use. I don't know if you guys have much experience in working with it, but I believe that there is basically a corresponding tool in every program that you'll be using to do vector graphics. So I'm going to come out and do my, excuse me, I was working at an 8.5 by 11 earlier. So I'm going to switch back out to the 10.8 by 19.2 that I used for Glowforge. And I use that if I'm making anything really, because Glowforge is a basic size that you can start with, and then anyone who's got a larger laser won't have any problem with it. So one of the things that people run into, I'd say, is clipping photos. And a lot of people use the new background photo apps where they'll remove the background for you, and those are great. But in some cases, you may want something where you're actually tracing along. And I don't know if you guys have seen my recent post where I showed the pumpkin leaves, where I went through and I made that cut file with the engraving to create leather pumpkin leaves out of a file. I'll go ahead and find that real quick if I can. That was in, I've got so many files here. Give me 1 second. Leaves leather. Here we go. So my Illustrator file for this, there. You can see this is the actual leaves themselves. And let me see if I can move this chat. There we go. I'm gonna move your pretty faces over here on my screen so I can see the other stuff going on. Let's go to layers, and then you can see this is where my photo is. So we'll zoom back in on that. And you can see that I kind of guessed where the photo line would be for this leaf, because obviously it's covered over by another leaf in the photo. So in doing this, I kind of separated it on each layer because I was giving it to a friend. I don't know if you guys know Ellen. She's actually a glass blower. And she wanted to make something that would go with her little glass pumpkins. So you can see in this, I didn't trace every leaf vein on here. I kind of just picked some big ones. So I probably could have picked some more, but knowing that these were going to be about 2 inches or so, I didn't want to get anything that was too detailed, because then that would just make it really muddy for when you actually made the leaves. And I think I have, let me see here if I can find the actual photo of the leaf itself. Give me 1 second, I'll do it real quick. If I can't, then I know I've got it in a, actually, you know what? That's probably the easiest thing, is I can just pull up my Facebook post of it. That's going to be in Reference User Group. Of course, everything on my machine is running slow right now. Let's see if I can find this. Oh, wow. Everyone's been posting such great Christmas stuff already. Oh, I'm not even sure I posted these in here. Oh, here they are. Okay, so let me see if I can swap my screen over so you guys can see it there. Let me find Zoom. And there we go. So screen sharing. Let's stop the share and then I'm going to go to share screen and you guys can see right there are the, you should be seeing my other browser window now. Do you? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. So these are the leaves that actually came out of that file. So you can see right here, here's the one that's kind of overlaid on itself a little bit. And then what I did was I added holes to each leaf so it kind of pins them together when you fold, or you could use it as kind of a way to wrap the copper wire. This is a pretty terrible wire wrapping job, I admit. So it was just a real quick one for a photo to send to Ellen. So I'm going to swap back over to the other screen if I can. And we're going to start talking about what you'd like to do. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our new piece here. And a lot of times what people want to do, like I said, outside of backgrounds is you do shapes like that. So what's a good example for you of something that you've had trouble with? Is it like a building? Is it pulling something out of trees? Or not necessarily pulling out a background because those are really fast now. Can you think of anything else you've been wanting to try that you just haven't seemed to get the right hook for?
I've rarely ever had the courage to actually try creating. I finally, for the first, like I created, I don't know if you can see it, I created this yesterday.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's a
Yeah.
3D with little doohickeys to go in. And the background, I just did unicorn spit. But I don't, and I just did all of it with just shapes. I don't usually design anything. So it was I usually just buy other people's designs and use those, but I created.
Okay, well, you'll definitely want to take a look at the one from last week. I went through making some ornaments and using words in that.
I was here. I saw it. It was awesome.
Oh, okay, great. I wasn't sure. I was thinking about that this morning before I started. I was like, did I post the link for that or not? I can't remember. Okay, so let's just find a random photo here. I have a folder that I use as inspiration. Here we go. Let's open. Go back. These are all the files I've made to help people over the years.
Yours looks a lot like mine.
Yeah, no, this is like one of, like, here I can show you. This is all my folders and files in this category. And I still haven't gotten to the end of it. And then I have another folder over here. That's all this. And I just have I have so much stuff in all these places. It's just terrible. I need to actually get it all organized at some point. Okay, let's see here. I think this is one. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong one. I have a friend whose daughter is named Begonia, and I made stuff for her over the years with flowers. So I thought that was it. Okay, so let's just make it easy. Let's go back. And I'm just not seeing photos right now. Let's see what this is. Oh, okay, that was something I did for someone. Sorry, guys. Let me just go grab a random photo from stock. I pay for a subscription every month, so I can just find stuff that I want to use in projects, and it's already got the licensing for it. So let's see, let's do Christmas. Okay. And let's come over here. Okay, so this is another thing that we probably could just use a remove background tool for, but I want to get moving. So we're going to use this to start. What I like to do is anytime I have a photo reference, I actually create a new layer and then I'll lock it on its own layer. So then this way you can actually turn it off and turn it on just using that layer without having to mess with it and without having to accidentally drag it or pick it up or do anything while you're working above it. So just keep that in mind. And let's see, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull out this guy here. And let's say we want to do a Rudolph or something like that, where we want the nose, but we don't necessarily want it to be an ornament. So since you were saying you haven't worked with anything but shapes, then this gives you an example of using a shape for it. So the ellipse tool is any type of rounded thing. So even though it's not always a circle, it can be an oval, it can be whatever you want to make it. If you pull it just directly out with the left mouse click, that's what you're going to get, is all those varying shapes. If you actually constrain it, meaning if you hold down Shift, it will always make sure that it's a circle for you. Now, if you say, you know what, that's great, but I don't want to have to guess how big that circle is, because you can see we're coming from that corner there. So how big is that going to be? I don't know. So if you guesstimate the center of what you're trying to create the circle around, then hold Alt down. And right now I'm working on a PC. So if you are on a Mac, then you know that it's Alt is a button on the Mac, but then like Control, for example, is Command. And you'll, I'm sure, get the hang of it. So just an FYI, if I'm saying the keys, then that's what I'm currently using right now. And so if you hold Alt and Shift and then drag, you'll see that it comes out from the center. And then you can kind of get an easier idea of how big this needs to be. So in this case, we're going to say, okay, we want it to be about like that we're going to clip out. So what I like to do, let's see if I'm remembering how to do this correctly now that I have an audience. Unlock there. And what we're going to do right now is paste in place, and the paste forward or Control F will actually paste it exactly where it was in your document. If you do a Control V, which is the standard control combination for paste, it'll just paste it within your screen. Like for example, right now, if you see, it'll post right there. It's just going to try and attempt to do it in the center of your screen versus exactly where you pulled it from. So I'm going to use this and select the back, and we're going to create all the way down here a clipping mask. And so that leaves you the rest of the photo. It's not actually removed. But what this is it gives you that texture on it later if you're going to print it off and do something like sublimate. Now, that's something you probably would want to do in, say, Photoshop, but you can do a quick and dirty here in Illustrator. So now we say, okay, we've got our we've got our ball, and now we need something to do with the nose around it, or something around it. So if you say, okay, you know what, actually I want to do a Santa hat on the ball, we're going to press P for the pen tool, and we're going to say, you know what, a Santa hat's about like let's make it like an elf Santa hat, where they always kind of come up to a point. One of the things that a lot of people don't know about the pen tool, even if they're used to using it, is that right now you can see that this handle is trying to angle the path for you, and it's trying to help do the spline. So in that curve or spline, you can see it's adding in that little bit of extra for you. Now, if you don't want that, if you want to stop and then change direction, hold Alt down and you'll get this handy tool, and it'll let you use the handle to redirect your path. So right now we're actually going to go back on itself, and you can see now the curve is actually pointing the direction we want. So that's something that'll be really helpful for you. And if you notice, all the time that I'm doing this, I'm pulling a little bit of a handle out for these, because that'll help us when we're trying to do any type of management with the path in the future. So right now we just want this as a line. So I'm going to take away the fill, and white is not really actually something we can see easily. So, oops. Go back to that. We're going to go, there we go. And I like to use red when I'm doing stuff. So I can either drag over here to true red, which is kind of a pain, or you can just type it in here. And some of the true colors that you're working with are 255, which is the max color, with 0 with 0. So you're not adding any other colors into it. So now we've got a nice red, and it looks kind of janky, doesn't it? I mean, it's kind of funky there. So I'm going to go up here to Object, Path, and then Simplify. And that'll actually help curve this pieces here. It'll start taking points out for you. So you can see here it went from 11 to 10. So it really didn't do much for us. So one of the things you can do if you have other plugins is you can have ones that will do a little bit more for you. For example, I think it's over here. This is that what I want? No, that's not what I want. Sorry, Adobe just updated stuff, and my version of Illustrator anyway likes to move stuff around on me. So let me see here. It should be in my astute settings, and it's not. So let's go here. That. Astute's under here somewhere. Okay, anyway, we're here to learn the pen tool, so I'm not going to try and do it the easy way. So now what I'm going to do, so I can see all my pads and the handles that I want, is I'm going to switch to the white arrow right here, which is also the A tool. And then you can see my anchor points are right there, and then you can see the handles are pulled out from them. So I'm just going to come back around really quickly. And I could have done this in the amount of time that it took me where I was hunting around for the other plugins and everything. And I'm just going to curve this out so that I have a nice Santa hat that I'm proud of, versus this kind of like geometric mess that I've started out with. Thanks. Let's see here. But this guy doesn't look like he has any handles. So you can either come over here under the pen tool and go to the anchor point tool, which is that exact same tool that I was showing you before, or you can hit Shift C. And that means if you don't have any handles on it, then you can create handles, and that'll help you work with the path that way. So you don't really want to keep it on. You want to go back to the white arrow, because if you do select it, you can see that it actually deletes first before you can actually work with the handles and you have to build the handles from nothing. So in this case, we already have kind of a nice curve that we're trying to bring back around here. So I'm going to switch back to the white arrow. I'm going to grab this anchor point here, and then we're going to bring it around. So we kind of have something that looks like a, I guess kind of looks like a Smurf hat more than it looks like a Santa hat. Let's pull this guy down and see if that'll change it for us. And it'll help when we add the little ball at the end too. So now I'm going to go back to the pen tool, which is P. And we do need that bit of fluff that Santa has that puts his hat out above all the rest. And this is something where you can just play around with it because no one's going to expect it to be, excuse me, no one's going to expect it to be perfect. So you can make it a little like bows if you want to, right here where I'm squaring it off. Let's see how that looks. And you can see I'm pulling back that handle tool every time. If you miss, like there, for example, I had lost my my line. So I went back and I just grabbed it. And I'm pulling it around, and you can basically make whatever you want to make when you're doing stuff like this. If you stop your pen tool here, then you can choose whichever angle you're going to go to. And so you don't always have to have that that directional arrow that you use on the handles for stuff. This is looking a little long, I think. So let me finish it up and then we'll get back to here. And then I think we're just going to connect over that way, since that actually ties in nicely. So now that's not too bad. I kind of like it. So now if you decide, you know what, I don't even want that glittery ball anymore. I want to make a face. So we're actually going to turn the glitter ball off, and we're going to come down, and we've decided we're going to draw a face. So let's start with where Santa's fur is going to be. Let's go back to the pen tool. We probably want to line up above where the actual face was. You saw our glitter ball before was between here and here. So we're going to start doing a matching type of a, there we go, into some more squarish. Matching type of a fur all the way through here. I think this will look better once I'm done. This is kind of coming out more Smurfish again, I think. So let's see here. And let's pull that down there. All right, let's get our circle in place. And in this case, we just want the circle to do the bottom of the hat. So I'm going to do the Alt Control that we talked about before. And we'll pull a circle that's about the right size. I'm going to go back to V, which will pull our black arrow, which is the selection tool. So V is when you're going to use a lot because it's just kind of dragging stuff around. And in this case, we're going to use it with Shift to drag the same size up until we get the size and the shape of the curve that we want. That was our glitter ball. I probably should have just kept the glitter ball. All right, let's squoosh it a little since it's a hat. We're gonna go with that. So I'm gonna adjust some lines over here, and then we'll keep going with it. I don't want to waste your guys' time with me trying to get it perfect. So let's go up here. We'll grab this line. And this is something you may run into as well. So I don't count this as too much wasted time because you can see that in making choices here, then you can decide what you want to do to change it. And if you want to change the shape at all, like I said, there's so many different things that you can do that just kind of knowing some of the basic tools is really helpful. Okay. This guy needs to come up some. Okay, actually, you know what it is? I think it's because I didn't actually go outside the hat. So I'm gonna come up here and we're gonna do that. And I'm gonna hit V, which then takes that off. With this now, I'm gonna select that curve for the hat and I'm gonna hit plus, which if you notice changes the pen tool into a plus on the addition to the cursor. So what that does is it means you can go in anywhere on this path that you see. And I'll zoom it in so you can actually see the path there because it's hard with a red stroke. So you can add in a path anchor point. So right there, you can see that's the intersection between the fur on the hat and the hat line itself. Well, what we want to do is we want to come back in here, we add a point there, and now we're going to select this point and we're going to remove them so it looks like the hat is behind, just like that. We can probably move that a little too if I get into it. Let's find it and drag it there. So we're going to do the same thing up here. I think I'm just going to extend this one down. And we're going to say go here. And if I pick up my pen tool now, you'll notice it has a like a hash line or a slash next to it. And what it's asking you is if you want to connect to the path so that you can basically keep that path going. So you click there, grab the path again, and we're going to come down and end it here. All right, so same thing. We're going to select. I'm going to add a point here, and then we're going to delete the extra point down here now. And it looks like it's behind. Okay, so far we have, kind of looks like a raggedy doll hat or something, but we're getting there. And you guys are getting the point too with basically how this works and how you can use it to work for you. So I'm going to angle this back out. And now we're going to come down to the face. And this will give us a general outline of what we want to do for the face. I'm going to actually select this and add some points in so that we actually form the bottom of the hat. And then we can make our own face shape based on what we want to do versus this circle. Oops. That was supposed to be that key. And you have to select the points to delete in front. Just bear with me today. I don't know what my nails are doing to me. Okay, there. So now if we draw a face, let's do something from the side view maybe, or even a 3/4 view. So let's get the pen tool again and let's draw a big nose for this guy. I think that looks pretty good. That's almost a Jetson's nose, huh? So I'm going to come back in here and I'm actually going to grab that up a little longer there. And now we need some eyes. So let's carry this line like we do in actual art. And you want to make the eyebrow because that's actually carrying along the orbit of the eye. And I'm going to stop that one. And then we're going to actually draw this one because it's going to be now cartoonish where you're going to see it at a different angle than the other one. So now, as our eyebrows, I think a lot of people would say, you know what, eyebrows don't look like that. They actually have the thick on one end and thin on the other. So when we go to stroke on this, I'm going to go back to properties over here. You can go down here into the profile of the stroke and you can see that there are different options that it gives you. And that right there kind of looks like an eyebrow, but it's facing the wrong way. And as you can see, it's facing the wrong way here as well from what you want. So you're going to go up to Object, Path, and then Reverse Path Direction. And then that tells it that it's actually going to have the profile that way. So let's make that a little bigger so those are a little more obvious. So there, you can see you've got a nice eyebrow instead of just a line. So let's go ahead and get this eyebrow going over here. And we'll see if we have to. Yeah, it looks like we have to do the line on that one as well. So we go down to Object, Path, and Reverse Path Direction. And then there's your eyebrows. Now we can cheat and we can do something similar with this by going through and just copying this down and then resizing it. You can also leave it that way if you want to mess with your friends and family. And then we're going to put an eyeball in here to finish out the eye. So let's get up a little closer and go out to our circle again. And now. And you can see it's actually kind of cool. Right now we have that stroke still added. So we could just use that in the eye itself, and that would create that that light in the eye that people normally see. That it can be hard to draw. So this is actually something good you can do. Now what we're going to do with this is, since this is so nice, I'm going to go ahead and reflect it over across to the other eye. So I'm picking the reflection tool here. I'm picking my center for the reflection, which is going to be the nose line. I'm hitting Alt and selecting it, and you can see where it wants to go. So I hit copy, and then now I have that, and I can come back to my black arrow, which also lets me rotate. So I can pull this down here. And this guy's a little closer to, I think I'm going to make these guys a little smaller on how thick they are, because they look way too much like the, there we go. At least that. Maybe shorten them in a bit since we're cheating. Okay, so if you pull out, you can see we're halfway down on the face. Now, a lot of people like to do a nostril or something. So let's come in here. We're going to take the pen tool, and I'm just going to connect to this, and I'm going to pull a big nostril out. This is like Jetsons level nostrils. And you can see here, that one's got to get a little something something to him. There we go. I think I ended up with a double point right here. Let me see what I got. There it is. So let me pull him around. And then now he is actually going to come back up, and I'm going to pull that directional handle that way. Okay. So now I think we need a mouth and a chin, and we're done. So with this, I'm going to go back to the pen tool, and we're going to look at the hats, and everybody has a hat that's bigger than their head. So we're going to bring this around and start making his temple. You want to go in for the eye and then back out for a cheek. Let's come down, and we're going to go out a little for his mouth. I know this looks really weird right now. We're going to come down and make a chin for this guy. Carry it up. Make another area for his mouth. Bring it back up. Around for his cheeks. Oops, I think I got a little off here. let me look here for a second. Let's come down from here, and we'll keep there's his cheek. And then we'll come and we'll just bring this to here. So we have his cheek come down to the point for the mouth. Okay, so it wasn't that far off. And I'm just going to connect these guys there with the Control J actually joins the two paths. And then that way you don't have to mess with it. It's all one path again. I am going to mess with the handles on this a little bit. And then now that might be a little bit too. I could do this all day, honestly, with messing with the curves. I think I messed that up. Okay, so we've got the cheeks here and here. Now we need a mouth. So same thing. We're going to go in with the pen tool and we're going to come around. And I like big teethy grins. So I'm going to come across here and draw across here. And I'm going to end the mouth there. And so this is kind of, this should be in keeping with our profile that we're doing. He's a little awkward here, I know. So I'm going to go back into that in a minute. I'm going to finish the mouth. You remember from most of the cartoons in the 50s and the 60s, they have this nice line of teeth that come out. And then they usually have a tongue that they have down here. I think for us, we just need the line of teeth. But we want to go in and we want to actually define some of the teeth. So back with the pen tool, and we're going to start and we're going to curve to make some teeth. And if we have to, we'll fill in our stroke line so that we don't always have, oops, that doesn't look good at all. So that we don't always have gaps right here and here, you can see, because in the art style that actually should be filled in. So I'm going to go across. Everyone likes to see the middle tooth a little bit wider and a little bit thicker than the rest of the teeth. So I'm coming down to the middle tooth right now, and this is going to be a nice bigger one. Oops. And we're going to pull this up here, pull this down like that, come around, make a nice wider one for the second tooth, and then we're back to, oops, we are back to the small teeth. And I promise I'm going to make this go fast. I got into a whole bunch of teeth there, didn't I? And there. And we probably want to move this actually just a little further over and down, because otherwise it kind of looks like he's got a big shark bite in his tooth line. All right, well, that looks terrible. So I'm gonna take those out for now. Wow, that was a terrible idea. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is then just have the white teeth in here, and then we're gonna color in this section right here with the solid, and then that way it'll look like teeth because we have the section behind it colored in. So I'm just gonna do a really rough section with the pen tool. That'll be the fill here. You don't have to be perfect, but you do want to just for the sake of time, I'm just getting it done. So we're gonna swap this over to fill. And then you can see that you have the cartoon map. I've got to fix this, guys. Orbit right here. This is just terrible. This is when the handles get away from you. Okay, so that's better. I mean, I guess he'll have some hair or something here, right? So we don't have to worry about that too much. But it just gives you an idea of the things that you can create with the tool. And in, what's it been? A matter of probably about 30 minutes. I've gone back and forth on showing you the tools and also on how you can adjust things and then how you can also make things from scratch with this. Yeah, let's make, I was gonna say, let's make them solid and see if that helps things out any, but I don't know where the ends are. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. So, do you guys have questions? You've been quiet the whole time. Are you guys still there? Did I scare anyone off?
I'm still here, just taking it all in.
Okay, do you have questions about it, or do you want me to do you want to see me draw a specific shape?
Not especially if you have any suggestions for those of us that don't know how to draw, but I'm genuinely taking this all in and it's awesome information.
Okay.
I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm going to be doing it every Wednesday as long as my schedule allows. So, I definitely hope you'll come back. The only thing I can think of with this guy is that because we used a stroke to make this shape on all three things for the eye and the eyelid and the eyebrow, is you want to make sure that you do come into object, path, and then outline stroke. And then that'll actually make them shapes versus everything right now has been strokes. So you want to do that before you actually take that into anything, where you want to use it as an engrave, because otherwise it'll just engrave as the lines that we used and not as the shapes that we created out of it. And then you have the overlap, obviously, with the eye and the eyelid. So you'd want to come to Pathfinder and unite that to make sure it's all just one nice shape for you. And it's easy to see once you switch from fill to outline, then you can see that that's the actual shape of it versus it being over here. It's like, if I change this back to just a standard, that's just lines. So you can see that it changes the look of it completely. So what's another thing that's coming up? I know one of the other things, it's not necessarily the pen tool, but one of the other things that people are coming up on is making candies and making different kinds. Peppermint is one of the biggest ones. So I'm going to start with peppermint here for you. And this kind of uses the pen tool because I'm going to start from the center and I'm going to create my own peppermint ripple. And you can see that this is now, well, that's a terrible ripple, you'd say. Well, I say that. So let's smooth that guy out a little. Okay, so you can see this and you can say, okay, this is my personal ripple. And I usually like the candies. Sometimes you'll see these candies where it's just big peppermint stripes, and I'll show you how to make those too. But we're going to take this, we're going to go up here where it says the reflect tool, but if you hold down, it'll go to the rotate tool. And then that's when it's that curved arrow. And we're going to use Alt Same thing as with the reflect tool, and we're going to rotate around the center. So you can see that then brought up our options for the degrees that we're going to use here. So I personally like double lines, but a lot of people don't. So if you're just going to do a standard ripple, then you might do something like that, where you can see that that then has this space, and then you'd have a nice peppermint ripple all the way around. So we would take it again, and we would then rotate again, Alt, select the center, and then now we're going to go like, let's say 30 degrees. Let's double the space. Oops, I think I only selected one of those guys. Let's go back to the V. Oh, that's full. Okay. Let's try connecting them just to be sure here. It looks like it's trying to rotate them singular. Okay, and well, it is too the same. Why are you doing this to me? One of the things you can do when you're looking at pads and you're not sure why something's not working is you can go into the Y view, which is just Control Y, and that's outlines. So you can check and see why it's looking at one versus the other. And I can see right there, it's two different paths. So I'm not sure why it's giving me guff. So I'm going to pull this one out just a teeny bit. And then that'll let me join these. No? Well. I think we got him now. We'll see. So I'll try going from here. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to rotate this around and we're going to stay at that center point. And you can see we're going to go for like 45 degrees for a gap. And that actually looks a little too tight. So we'll go 60 and we'll copy. So you can see this then is kind of a nice gap for most people for their candies. And since we've already done this once and we haven't done anything else with our tools, then we can hit Control D and it will duplicate, and you can actually make that shape go around the center for you and not have to do it yourself. So now we have this cute little candy. Now on my preference, I'm going to dupe this candy over here and we can see what I like to do. What I like is I like something that has like a narrower ripple in here. And so what I'm going to do is take the pen tool and I'm going to come from the center and I'm going to make a new ripple. And this way you can say, this is obviously my candy. I didn't use anyone else's candy for this. So same thing. Oof, that's terrible, isn't it? You guys are being so nice and not saying when I'm making terrible curves. I appreciate it. Okay, so take this curve and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to rotate and we're going to come down here to the center. Hit Alt, center, and we're going to pop that first at about 15 degrees, I think is close. Let's go like 10 and make that our small ripple. So it's a little bit smaller. It's not terribly smaller. We can undo that. Let's do an 8 maybe. So same thing, hit Alt, hit the center, and I think I'm going to go with 6, actually. I like to stay within multiples of 6 every time I'm working with a circle. There, so that's nice. That's a little ripple. And I'm going to do the same thing where these guys are going to move together. And I'm going to put them all the way around the candy. And I think before we did a 60-degree as it keeps trying to pop up. So as we do it now, it wants to do this 6 degree that I did before. Now we're going to do the 60, and you can see it's perfectly aligned because we're still doing it from the center of the circle. So you can do this kind of a rotation on anything, and it really helps when you're doing stuff and you don't want to have to manually do it, to have something like this in your pocket. And so duplicate, 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 and we now have a candy with much more ripples. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get these to close, and then I'm going to swap it to fill. There. So just select the one, control join, and swap. And then you can see your candies as they kind of take shape with the different sizes. Now, a lot of people like the wrapper around them. This isn't really conducive to a wrapper because, well, I can do a wrapper on top of it. We'll do that in blue. And so you can see how that's done too. So let's get the last two of these. Join. And there. So around this one, then we're going to group this just to kind of keep it out of the way. Now it's just going to all move together instead of have the separate pieces. Like this one is still in separate pieces. So now using blue, let me go back to the pen tool. And blue is kind of a cellophane color. So we decide that, okay, the wrapper itself is going to start about here. So we're going to do a kind of a rough line there. And again, we're going to switch this back to there being a line itself. And we're going to make sure we take all these from the same place. Oops, probably shouldn't go straight with that one, huh? And bring it around as a rough type of a thing. And you'll see what I'm doing in a minute when I finish this. So I'm going to do it from the same place, bringing it around, and then here. Okay, so this is a good half a wrapper. And we're going to go back over here. And instead of rotate, we're going to go to reflect. We're going to use that point, which is our center point really, as the reflect. And we're going to tell it horizontal, which is top to bottom, and copy. Okay, and so this makes a little bit of a cage for us. It's not great, and it's not meant to be anything other than you can use it as a score line to create your wrapper. Now coming out from that, we have obviously the ends of the wrapper. So now we're going to come out here and we're going to say they're a little rounded and they're going to come back in. Okay, I don't want to do, actually, I don't want to do anything that's too far down because then we are going to not be able to just cheat by, there we go. We're going to do this first, which is, this is a combination of cheating here. So we're going to start here and I'm going to do the center line there and I'm going to cheat with the top to bottom and copy. So there you have, actually, that's really elegant, isn't it? We're going to have our candy end right there. And then now we're going to do the same thing where we're going to duplicate it across and we're going to center on the candy. And now we're going to go vertical. So you can see now we have a wrapped candy ready for Christmas. Any other thoughts? Okay. So that's 2 down, and that's using the pen tool on both of the projects. I kind of feel sad for leaving this guy without his eye filled in, so I'm gonna fill that in before the end of it. We're rolling up around 1 o'clock right now, which is my end time for these. If you want, go ahead and leave comments. I'm going to post this up onto my YouTube channel, and then that way you can we can have other people watch it later as well. But like I said, not great artwork, but hopefully you got a lot out of the tool for listening. So I'll be back here Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific time. And thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
You're very welcome.